The Toolbox ribbon and tab is where much of the occasionally performed tasks, services, and behind-the-scenes parts of Discover 10 reside. Many of the features in Toolbox are user-level restricted to protect the hardware of the Discover. There are three main sections of this view. The ribbon where quick access tasks can be performed, the Discover Controls section where the Discover hardware can be manipulated by the operator, and the lower tabbed section where many settings and view windows can be found. The hover over descriptions of the buttons throughout Discover 10 give a good, in-depth idea of the intended purpose and how to perform them. Starting with the ribbon, we will briefly run through what each of the sections is for and how to use many of the functions. Note that this is used primarily for service, so a typical user may never need to come into this ribbon and tab. In the group labeled Moving, there are three buttons. The first, Move to Sink, will move the sample disk so that the deposition tip is over the sink of the disk. This is the area that is used to collect solvent and column bleed so that the working track stays clean. The To Clean Spot button will move the disk so that the deposition tip is over the next clean spot in the sample track, moving the track pointer forward. The To Run RT button will move the disk such that the IR beam is on a specified retention time input by the operator. In the staging group are the Unload and Load buttons, which work the same as the ones in the Setup and Run tab. The Calibrate Home button will move the disk to the home position, meaning the disk is all the way in. At the home position, the home switch is clicked, which will reset the linear motor's location to a system-specific predetermined value. The Mapping and Finding group contains the Find Orifice, Map Orifice, and Find Deposit functions that will automatically move the disk so that the orifice or deposit is centered over the IR beam. The Find Deposit is used for setting the location of the deposition tip and the optics lag. It's important that the deposition tip is aligned so that the deposit goes through the IR beam. This is performed after a replacement of the transfer capillary, which is recommended to be done about once a year. There is also an information button called Motor Commands. This can be opened to view the commands that the operator can enter into the motor commands in the lower section. Unsurprisingly, the Spectrometer group is where the operator can go to perform tasks related specifically to the spectrometer. Use Connect to manually connect the software to the spectrometer if it is disconnected. The bottom of the screen shows the connection status. Note that if the System Connect displays disabled, that the operator should check the File options and see if the Try to Connect on Creation of Utilities and Setup Run is checked. To reconnect to the hardware, close and reopen the Toolbox and/or Setup and Run tabs. The Acquire button can be used after choosing the measurement mode and frequency pull-downs. The measurement modes are interferogram, single beam, absorbance, and transmittance. The background is a single beam prerequisite to calculate transmittance and absorbance. The choices for frequencies found under the Acquire button are to take a one-shot, to run continuously, or to run in loop mode, which intermittently takes a reading every specified amount of seconds. To set this, go into the expansion arrow of the spectrometer group. If the operator would like to take a spectrum of the current location, the button Offset Background conveniently acquires a background from another location. Hold time measures the MCT detector operational duration after filling with liquid nitrogen. Once the total duration drops below 8 hours, we recommend repumping the detector for the operator's convenience. The Noise button calculates the noise of the acquired spectrum displayed below, and is showed in the section called Temporary Info that appears when needed in the Discover Connection section of the tab. Lastly, Save allows the operator to save the spectra that is shown below. The Settings group has buttons that work as shortcuts to the desired settings field below. These will be seen later in the video. The group Pumps and Vacuum allows the operator to auto-start pumps, turn on the rotary and then the diffusion, and stop vent, which turns off the diffusion pump, then the rotary pump, and vents the system. Also found in this group is the Calibrate Vacuum Gauge button. From within here, the vacuum gauge can be set to atmospheric pressure and at low pressure. Read the hover over instructions for the Discover conditions before attempting to calibrate. Lastly, in the ribbon, the Records group has the Take Record button. Go into the expansion arrow to choose what will be recorded and to where. This will last as long as desired, but will not record during sample runs. The record can be viewed by going to the location specified for the record and opening the CSV file. Graphs can be made from the information and can be very helpful for determining vacuum level and more. A logarithmic scale is very useful for looking at the vacuum. Next, we will move on to the Discover Controls section. The group Disk Position has the rotary and linear motor locations and the command entry boxes. Next to them are red @ symbols, which can be used to stop the motors. The Motor Control Information button of the Mapping and Finding group on the ribbon will show a chart of the usable commands and their actions. Below in the Tweak Stage subgroup are buttons that allow the operator to move the slides by the number of steps shown in the upper right corner. The tweak controls include in the motion automatic backlash correction. The Temperature section allows the operator to enable the heaters and to set the temperatures. Note that the Enable checks will not automatically be visually checked if the Discover software is connected to the hardware, but the hardware was on previously. Check the displayed actual temperatures to see if they are hot. In the Switches group, the operator can manually turn on and off some hardware elements, like the pumps. Certain orders of operation are restricted by user level, such as turning off the rotary pump before the diffusion pump. To the right is the camera view. There is a camera view in the toolbox and the Setup and Run tabs. Note that the 3-chamber lights are controlled from within this view. The lower tabbed section has 4 main areas on the left. Within the Default Settings tab are more sub-tabs on the top. Starting with System, the operator will be given the choice to use the GC methods or not. If running with DANI GC methods, then the DANI should be chosen under GC type. Below this are some of the numerical conditions for sample running. The optics lag is automatically determined when running the Find a Deposit program. It is the distance between the deposition tip and the IR beam. The track spacing is the distance between the spirals of the sample track, and lastly, the track pointer is the way that the Discover 10 knows how much of the track has been used so far. Press Apply to implement any changes. Note that next to the Apply, it says Expert/Admin user level. This means that a password is needed to apply the changes, and either the expert or admin password can be entered. Also note that admin user level is allowed to make changes that can cause damage to the instrument. Knowing that, please do not use the admin password or make any changes requiring an admin user level without talking with SpectroAnalysis first. The next group is the disk area, which has preset numbers that determine the division of the disk. To better see what these numbers represent, open the disk layout. Here the operator can see what the areas of the disk are. The gray in the center is the clamped location of the disk. The teal is the sync location. The pink is the working track where samples are placed in a spiral, and the darker blue is the area between the working track and the edge of the disk. When looking at a sample disk, the orifice can be seen on the outer edge. Disk Positions and More has the slide preset and automatically updated parameters used to configure the Discover system. The Determine Home Offset button, only available from the admin user level view, is used to precisely determine the center of rotation of each specific system. The result updates the linear home position. This improves the precision of the retention time at different radial positions and disk speeds. This is important for using LRI or matching retention time of mass specs or other detectors. Moving on to the Spectrometer sub-tab, the operator will see that many items herein are also accessible from the expansion arrow on the ribbon and affect the programs on the Spectrometer ribbon group. The Bunch Spectra during sample run averages the number of spectra chosen into one data point. Also chosen here are the measured and displayed spectral range. If not already displaying, the camera can be chosen here. The Flip Horizontally and Vertically buttons allow the user to change the camera so that when the disk is moving in the rotary positive direction, it is moving down towards the operator, and so that when the linear is moving in the positive direction, the disk moves to the right. In the Movement sub-tab, the presets and step counts are found. Note that here we see that one full revolution of the disk is 72,000 steps. Like other sub-tabs, the Temperature sub-tab can also be reached by clicking on the Temperature shortcut buttons on the ribbon's Settings group. Here the operator can see the running target temp and the standby target temperatures of the many heater zones. Note that not all systems will have a Discover oven. As well as setting the temperatures, the PID control parameters are also found here. These are referred to in the switching back and forth between software document found on the Spectre website. The next sub-tab is for vacuum. This section has predetermined numerical settings for the diffusion pump so that it will run safely. It also sets the vacuum level for turning on and off the pumps and the venting. Lastly, the QC sub-tab allows the operator to set the QC test interval. See the Upgrading from Discover 6 video for more information. In the WN Accuracy group is the Manage Standards button. This allows the operator to manage and view the digital polystyrene certificates. The operator can also view the certificates from the Setup and Run tab under GC Wave Number Accuracy. Moving up a level again, there are 3 more areas in the lower tabbed section: the Mapping, Spectrometer, and Activity Log. The Mapping side sub-tab is what will open when running processes from the ribbon in the Finding and Mapping group. Saved maps may also be opened, and custom size maps can be set up here. The operator can view the maps with different plot types, color ranges, and optional grid, as well as switching back and forth between motor steps and microns. When creating custom map sizes, the grid size and mesh size can be manipulated. The grid size shows how many scans are taken on one axis, and the mesh size is the size of each box in the grid. The Spectrometer tab is where the data from programs in the Spectrometer group and the ribbon are shown. This will automatically open while data is being taken. Lastly, the activity log is similar to the Actions View block from the Setup and Run video. This one will display the history of activities that the operator has performed within the Toolbox tab. Thank you for watching.